everyone, welcome to this reset. So I want you to come onto your back like I am now and bring your feet. So in a lot of yoga the feet are cued quite close in for a bridge. For this low bridge I want your feet to be further away than your knees, just a little bit perhaps. We can explore the place that fits you well when we come up. Bring your hands onto the pelvic points. So this is the bony parts on the front of your hips. We've got one on the right, one on the left. Have a feel. And we're going to bring the right palm onto the right, left onto the left. Still staying on the floor, I just want you to imagine that you're tucking your tailbone under and almost lifting your tailbone up towards the ceiling. So it feels like you've just tipped your pelvis. Okay, keeping that feeling, we're going to lift up into a low bridge, just a low one. It doesn't have to go high at all. In fact, I would rather you were low. And we just hold. Keep the hands on the front of the pelvis. These bony points on either side, they're called the ASIS. It's got two of them, ASISs. And the palms are on the ASIS and you are squeezing the glutes as if your glutes are going to go all the way through the body into the hands. So you won't lift any higher, but hopefully we start to feel a little bit more engagement. So for some of us it takes a bit longer for the glutes to wake up. It just depends if they're used to firing or not. So we're keeping the lower back long. And one way that you can get the glutes to work a little bit harder here, to check out are they working, is to touch them, to use your fingers. So many people seem to shy away from doing this. I do it all the time, it's great. Bring the hands, bring your fingers and get into not just the main part of the glute, but think about the sides. The part where the hamstring meets the glutes, sort of the bottom, literally the bottom of your bottom, the top. And when you prod with the fingers, what you're trying to do is then squeeze the muscle back into your fingers. So you're using your fingers as a bit of feedback. So making sure that they are turning on, hands come back on the front, and we still hold it here lifted. As we hold it here, we're going to stretch out the wrists. Keep the pelvis as it is, keep the lower back feeling long, lift the arms up towards the ceiling. We pull the wrists back by taking your left hand to your right fingers and pull your right fingers towards your face. Stretch out the right thumb to the side. So we'll do this a lot in my classes. If you hear me say stretch out the right wrist at the beginning, this is what we're doing. You get really used to it. Really stretch the fingers. Keep that lower back the same. Let's swap the hands over. Pull the left fingers back, stretch out the left wrist. As you do it, just keep sending your thumb to the side as well. So we're not pulling on the thumb, but it can get involved just by stretching out to the side. Hopefully, glutes are feeling a little bit warmer now. And then relax the arms, bring the hands back onto the pelvis, and we're just going to lift and lower the heels. So we're going to do this quite quickly, these little heel bops up and down off the floor. And what I want you to do is push down into the ball that's underneath your big toe, so the big toe mound. Push into that part to lift and lower the heels. Keep the lower back feeling quite long. So this low bridge position that we do at the start helps us to find what we call a neutral pelvis. So for many of us, our pelvis is a bit tipped into anterior or posterior tilt, and we find neutral. We switch the glutes on, we wake up some of those big muscle groups, and we're going to lower from here. So just lower section by section of the spine. And how different do you feel in that short amount of time around the pelvis, around the hips? Okay, let's wake up our abdominals. So abdominals, we're not just talking about the ones that are on the surface, the superficial ones, we're talking about stuff that is deep. And the things that are deep help us to move and help us to support our spine. Keep the legs as they are. Bring the hands up behind your head. Interlace your fingers. And we draw the elbows in towards the temples. Now, in a moment, when we lift up, it's not about cranking your neck. Instead, I really want the brain to be in your midsection and to imagine that these muscles are right deep in here, all of them, are doing the work. They are the things that are lifting you. So take a big inhale. As you exhale, lift up off the shoulder blades. So it doesn't need to be super high, just shoulder blades off the floor. For this first one, I just want you to draw everything in this front part of your body down and in towards your spine. So almost imagine the left and the right sides of the abdomen come together and then down. Hold. Inhale as you lower down. So we use the breath at the same time here. Exhale, lift up off the shoulder blades. Hold. Inhale, lower back down. Exhale, lift up. Hold. Inhale, lower back down. Let's add on. Exhale, lift up, hold. This time, knees come over the hips. So the legs lift, hold it here, and turn 1 inch to your left with the rib cage, but stay off your left shoulder blade. Back to center. Inhale, lower back down. You can keep the legs up now. Exhale, lift up. Try and keep your knees over your hips. 1 inch to the right. Hold it here. Back to center. Inhale, lower down. Just let the knees hug in. Bring the right foot to the right side of the mat, the left foot to the left side of the mat. Knees point up. Let both knees drop to the right, but push into the left foot at the same time. So the left knee doesn't collapse because you're pushing the big toe edge of the left foot down into the floor. Right hand onto the left ASIS and squeeze that left glute up into the hand, opening the front of the left hip. Release, bring it back to center. Let both knees drop to the left. Same thing, but keep pushing down in the right foot. Left hand to the right ASIS. Squeeze the glute. It's going to feel a little bit like that low bridge, but just on the right side. And back to center. And then we do one more round of abdominals from here. So bring your legs in. If you've got a block, I want you to bring the block between your thighs this time. Squeeze that block together. And just like we ended our last abdominals, bring the knees up so that the knees are kind of over the creases of your hips. Squeeze that block together. Bring the hands behind the head, draw the elbows in. Take a big inhale. Exhale, lift up off the shoulder blades, draw everything in. 1 inch to the left. And then reach your right arm to the outside of your left thigh. Reach a bit more. Hand behind the head, back to center, inhale, lower down. Exhale, lift up off the shoulder blades, turn 1 inch to the right. Reach the left hand to the outside of the right thigh, reach a bit more. Back to center, and inhale and lower. One more each side. Exhale, lift up. Turn 1 inch to the left. Right hand reaches, cuts across the left thigh. If you want, the left arm reaches back behind your ear. Bring the hands back to the head, back to center. Inhale, lower back down. Woo! Core on fire. Exhale, lift up off the shoulder blades. 1 inch to the right. Left hand cuts to the outside of the right thigh. Right arm can reach up. Stay off the shoulder blades. Hands behind the head, back to center. And you can lower down. You can get rid of your block. And you can give the knees a little squeeze, a hug in. All right, let's come on up into a tabletop position. So tabletop is, the technical name of tabletop is quadruped. So it's called both names. Knees come underneath the crease of your hip. So if we take the knees too far back, it's quite easy for the lower back to dip towards the floor and the pelvis to tip into anterior tilt. So to make it easier for that to be neutral, walk the knees in. So I'd rather your knees were closer towards your wrists. Find a strong neutral tabletop. Think about the neck as well. So the neck is trying to be in line, not dropping down towards the floor, but it's like the front of the throat is lifting up. Okay, bring the knees to touch. We're going to swing the right leg just straight out to the right side, keeping the knee bent. bring it back in. Left leg out to the left, bring it back in. Keep going. Like a pendulum, the knees go side to side. But I don't want, as you do this, for it to sort of swing back and open behind you. Almost imagine just a straight line where the knees are. And as the knees come out to the side, they stay on that line, or as much as possible. Keep the front of the throat lifted. And keep this nice and controlled. So small movement is great. It can be really small. Minimizing the movement in the lower back. One or two more. Okay. Drop the forearms down. Dolphin pose. You can interlace the fingers or hands can be flat. If you interlace the fingers, bring the elbows closer than you think together, really close. Drop the head in between your arms and puff up the shoulder blades. So really round that upper back. Then tuck the toes, lift the knees and lift the hips and walk the toes in a little bit. And draw the rib cage into your spine. Keep the belly pulling in like you did in that abdominal section and push down in the forearms to lift through the armpits. Breathe. Try and see if you can breathe into the back of the body. And see if you can lift the creases of your hips any higher. Lower the knees down. We'll take one more round of dolphin, adding on something with the legs now. So, hands are interlaced or they're flat, shoulder distance. Head drops, shoulders puff up, lift the knees up off the floor. This time, if you want to, lift the right leg, and we're going to bend the right knee in the air, and just turn that right thigh a bit left and a bit right. So, internal rotation and external rotation of the right thigh. Trying to keep everything else locked still. Alright, swap the legs. Left leg lifts, bend the knee. Doesn't have to go high at all, stomach still pulls in. And turn that left thigh in the socket, just a little bit left and right. Internal rotation when it points in, external rotation when it points out. And then let's drop both knees down. Take a quick child's pose.